Schaumburg, Illinois. Yo, what's going on? So I've recently been getting a good amount of questions on my minimal modular setup, which was 40 HP. I've recently upgraded to 62 HP. Still consider it minimal because it's, smaller than 84, I guess. So I upgraded to the IntelliGel palette case, which is 62 HP with a 1U tile and some built-in mults, and it's so good. And I've been wanting to showcase that on the channel. So with those two things, the questions and then the upgrade, and the third thing, which is noise engineering, reach out for a blog post, which I have linked down below. They asked some good questions of basically why modular and why do I use the stuff that I use. I mean, clearly I'm using a lot of noise engineering. So I wanted to make a video talking about why I have this mini setup, why I think it's beneficial for me because it helps me stay focused versus a big setup, and just kind of get into some sounds and the possibilities and capabilities of my tiny system. Oh, and if you're wondering if I always live this swanky or not, no, I don't. Like I said, Schaumburg, Illinois. I'm here for KnobCon, so keep an eye on the channel for another video about this spot. Anyway, let's get into some sounds. All right, my minimal modular setup. This has kind of grown a little bit more than I originally intended to, but I just could not skip out on this case by IntelliGel. Yes, I mounted things upside down. I'll get to that a little later. So how I even got to this point is, typical story. Dove into the modular world, got hooked onto it. But the biggest mistake that a lot of people don't mention is you need to go into it knowing exactly what you want to make. Because I was able to make a bunch of cool sounds, but nothing really fit together. You have to go and design a synth that you want, like your dream synth. So this is kind of my dream synth. It's monophonic. I got the ataraxic right here, and a ton of modulation and cool clocking trigger things. And I've had big cases and even bigger cases, and I eventually started going down backwards, and I went down to 40 HP, and seeing how much I could get done with that, I was like, man, what else could I get done with 40 HP? And then IntelliGel came out with this palette case that was like from the gods. This was so perfect. It's got the 2 buffered multipliers, which if you just go here, this is normal, so you can basically turn 1 into 8 easily, no problem. Built-in MIDI, as well as the USB MIDI for your computer, actual quarter out, so you don't have to deal with the 1/8 to 1/4 inch cable things. It's powered. Then it comes with the 1U where you can put all your boring stuff. For example, to make this MIDI work, you need this. To make this work, you need that. These are cheaper than the 3U versions, so that was also another big plus. And then I got this little USB thing. I can power a MIDI keyboard or whatever I want. And then this thing, the Steppy. My God, this is such a crazy trigger sequencer for the size that it's in, and it's so fast. I'm kind of jumping everywhere, so let me just take you left to right. What I got here, what its purpose is, and then we'll start getting into some sounds. So over here on the left, it's the Monsoon. I got it made by CalSynth out here in California, in Pasadena. Super cool dude. Thank you so much. It's really just I use it as an overkill reverb and delay, but it's the Clouds by Mutable, but in a different shell. From there, I got the Horologic Solum for my clocking stuff. What's great about this is I use this one because it could be completely standalone, because if I flip the clock to internal, it'll generate its own clock. After that, I got the Memetic Digitalis, which I was pretty hesitant about it for a while. No idea why, because I'm pissed I didn't get it sooner, but it's 4 16-step CV sequencers with a bunch of other crazy things. But the mind-blowing thing about this is if I hit load and shred, it'll randomize whatever tracks I currently have selected. But what blew my mind was if I hit load 0 and shred, it'll randomize the tracks that I have selected, but between 2 octaves. And this, with this, is game over. It's so much fun. We'll get to it in a sec. After that, I got the 2 Klep Diaz's, greatest LFO of the year. Again, seriously, this thing is so cool. If you haven't seen my video on just this module, it's right here. Check it out. After that, we got the Sync Bacina here. I needed a fast envelope, and this basically has a built-in VCA, which is really nice, and it's that low-pass gate style. Sounds really good. And the filter in it can resonate between different 6, 0, and 12. The slope of the filter, 6 sounds incredibly good for bass stuff because it just kind of gives it this little distortion-y warm thing, and it's analog, which is really nice. After that, basically my only silver 3U module, which I wish came in black, as you can tell, is the MMF by WMD SSF, the collaboration between the two brands. This filter is crazy. You got high pass, low pass, band pass, basically any kind of filtering that I would need. But the crazy thing about this is it has a ping input. So I can actually ping the envelope 303 style. Then the Ataraxic Ateratos AI. It's got a bunch of cool wave shapes, a bunch of weird kind of aliasy coolness, or you can dial that stuff back or have noise kind of be generative and rhythmic. It's a trip what this thing can do. And then probably my favorite module out of this whole thing, which is hard to choose, but is this Lapsus Os. This thing is so much fun because you can flip. Well, hold on. Let me pump the brakes a bit. What this does is basically you can set it so that each fader goes 0 to 5 volts, 0 to 5 volts. You can flip this switch and it goes -5 to 0 to 5, 0 to -5. You got 2 outs, then you got a multiplier and then an adder. So basically I can send in CV into this and it'll be added on top of this, or the multiplier, if I have this down, won't basically acts as like an attenuator. So it won't send the LFO through to its final destination unless I start turning this up. So this as a performance tool is insane. And I wanted my case to kind of be simple to use like this. And the reason I mounted it upside down in this IntelliGel case is because I like all my jacks to be along the bottom. With the 1U on top, I had to keep patching up and over things and I couldn't reach what was inside my case. So flipping the case around, I'm able to kind of patch everything up. And speaking of patching, let's go ahead and get started with this. Okay, so I got a pretty basic patch right here. And all I'm doing is sending clock to the steppy. The steppy is then sending out A, which is this rhythm right here, into this mult. And I'm going to send this mult to the ping as well as the other ping of the sync bucina. And what that's going to allow it to do is just open up the envelope. So ping. Right, super simple. We got our filter here. And again, like I mentioned earlier, with the ping, check this out. Look how good this sounds. All right, let me slow this down a little bit. Cool. So what's happening is basically, sorry about that. Oh, that's kind of cool. I am basically controlling the rhythm that's getting generated. So the reason I found this case so powerful is because I can generate the rhythm and generate the pitch sequence independently. And it reminds me a lot of my Avalon, as well as the way you used to have to program the TB303, which is you would enter in the pitch and it would be like, okay, the pitch is going to be this on these 16 steps. What's the rhythm going to be? The rhythm's going to be this. And sometimes if a gate was not on the same, step as a certain pitch, that pitch would be ignored. So this case to me is like happy accident galore. It's so much fun. So the next thing I'm going to do now that I just have this thing kind of plucking around. Oh my God, this thing sounds good. Oh. Cool. So now what I'm going to do is basically take this, which is going to be divided by 2, and send that. You know what? Why waste this long cable? Let me use one of these short ones. And I'm going to send that to the end of this mimetic. And now this is moving around my sequencer for CV stuff. So CV stuff, watch this. Send 3 to, what's this do? That moves around a lot. And that's going to be our tilt. So I'll say, where's our tilt? Or our time mod. So 3 is moving that around. And if I wanted to change 3 up, I can just hit shred. And it's just going to generate a random rhythm. But I can also hit 0 to clear. Or I can say load, shred. Right, let's speed this up a little bit. Simple. Take this, send it to maybe the shape. Load, shred. Load, shred. If I like that, hit save, and I can save it to 4 slots quickly, or basically 8 slots quickly. So if I go and I say shred again, and I don't like this, load, 1. And it's that same rhythm that we just had. So the performance you can get out of the mimetic is crazy. All right, so now let's start focusing on some pitch stuff. I normally use 4 because it's closer. If I go to 4 now, I can say 0 shred, and this will randomize it, but within 2 octave ranges. But what's cool is I can then just say 0. Oops, I just hit shred. Let me generate something random. So then I can say 0. Right? And then what's crazy is I can actually change the rhythm up, but the pitch will still be the same. Ooh. Bam. Done. Now let's get to this thing, the lapsus. So I'm going to take this out for a sec. And what the lapsus allows me to do is choose my 4 most used controls that I have to dive through and just control it from right here. So 1 is always the filter. And I can say, let's go from here into the volt per octave. I normally go into the volt per octave versus the FM because if I go into the FM, it overrides the ping input. So this already, I'll choose its lowest point, and then, and if I want it, I can flip this so I can go even lower than that. So this way I can just set the knob to center. Kind of gives you a little bit more range, but I prefer this because I can open and then slam something down and know it's always going to land at the lowest point I possibly want it at. Another one I'll do, I normally go into maybe the resonance. What's wild is I can have, you have 2 outs. So I can say, let's also go to this waveform. Maybe a little too intense. Let's try the time mod. Whoa. Okay, so now on to the Clep Diaz. What I'm going to do now is take the same pattern. The great thing about the Clep, as well as the mimetic and some other sequencers and whatnot out there, is that I don't need a clock to clock it or move it forward in its sequence. I can just use the same rhythm. So every step and every time this plays a note, to move the Clep one more step in its pattern, basically. So if I put this into the clock and I put this here, we got some modulation right here. And what's wild is, check this out. I'm going to send the unipolar signal of the Clep, which is going at, let's see, 1, 2, 3 values. And I'm going to put that into the X of this. So it's going to then start moving the filter as well as the time mod, depending on how much I open this. So what's crazier is then I can take the out of 2 and send that into the addition or the additive section of the lapsus os. So if I start turning up 2, it kind of overrides that. But if I drop 2 and start raising this on its own, it's like an easy way to get some modulation. If I like this, open up 2. Oh man, this is so dope. I need to grab a Digitact. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. So I got the Digitact. The setup has changed a little bit. I'm going MIDI out of the Digitact into the IntelliGel case with this adapter that it comes with. And again, this is why I love this case. MIDI, just go straight in. Now I got reset, I got my clock, I got run signal, I got a divided clock. If I wanted to send that somewhere else, I can almost make do without this clock divider. And if I really wanted, I could just sequence it from here. So that's why I love this minimal modular setup, because I can either use it to come across these really cool happy accidents, or I can use it very traditionally, if you will, as just a typical sequencer or a typical synth voice, and I can sequence it from something else. But I prefer using this combo because you come up with some really cool things. So basically, I got the 16th clock going into the clock divider. I got the reset on a stackable, just resetting the clock divider as well as the mimetic so that there's still some sort of a musical beginning and end when it comes to the pattern. And honestly, I should probably reset this now that I think about it. Let's see, I got another cable here somewhere. We'll use this purple one. So reset, done. So when I press play here, it resets. You can see it there. Starts. And to get audio from here into here, I'm going audio out of the case into the Digitact, and I just turn monitoring on. Right, and I also ran some effects now, so I got the monsoon for that reverb. Where else should I send this? Another thing I love about this ataraxic is it tunes in semitones. Or if I wanted to fine tune, you just don't press down this pitch. It's like a button, basically. All right, so there's that. Let's reset this. Right, pretty simple. Don't like this pattern, change it up. And what's cool about this, I can also press and hold and set a 6-step pattern for my trigger sequencer, but my sequencer over here, which is handling pitch, is still at 16 steps. So it's pretty wild. Or if you do something really cool, this is my favorite thing to do. Oh, really quick. In case you haven't noticed, it does not stop going, which is really fun in a live setting, but when you're in the studio, sometimes you're like, oh my God, shut up. So if there's a way to do that, I know you should use the run, but I don't really see the run here. Maybe there's some weird hacky use a VCA, because those things kind of solve all problems. But yeah, let me know. So what I love to do here also is, instead of clocking the mimetic with the clock, is, yep, you might have guessed it, clocking it with the trigger. So check this out. So now I got a 6-step sequence with only 4 triggers in it, clocking and moving the mimetic in 16 steps forward 1 step at a time as it receives this trigger. And if I wanted to get even weirder, I can select track B, and track B I can say be, I don't know, 8 steps or something like that, and I'll put a trigger at the beginning, and with that 8-step sequence I can send out B to reset the mimetic. And this is super weird. I don't even want to do the math on this, but if I go back and I select A and I say let's make it 3 steps, so now 3 steps are moving this forward in a 6-step sequence, but it's being reset every 8 steps by the main clock. Right? So then if I do something like this, but listen to how much this changes when I just take a single step away. Or move the step. And then again, 4 is doing our pitch. I can say, let's save this pattern to pattern 1. And then I'm gonna hit 0 and shred. That kind of works, but then I'm gonna hit 0 on the one note I don't want. And if I like this, save and save that to 2. So now I can load 1 and then load 2. And then just hit load in 0 shred and save that to 3. 1, 2, and 3. And this is all I really did for an hour, was just, fuck around on this thing, and it was fun as hell. Another kind of secret that Steve from Noise Engineering mentioned was if I take the lapsus out and I send it into just the regular gate mode, I can kind of fake this opening up. So this is one thing I love doing, was pausing this, letting this run, and it kind of tricks it into sounding like you're opening the release. And then, right, load 2. Or what's even more fun is to just not go into pitch and then just start doing some crazy things of just modulation only. So then I'll say load shred. And then we need more modulation from the mimetic. More. I'll say 1 into the actual algorithm. We'll change the pattern up. And then I'm going to go to track B and actually make it 16 steps. And then we'll say track A, 16 steps. Ooh, sign me up. And then let's go into the wave shape, and we'll use 2. And I'll say only 2, shred that one. Oh my god, that one's insane. Let's do load and shred to be only within 2 octaves. Actually, let's try time mod. Yes. Ooh. Now let's do some weird stuff on this monsoon, which is just wrecking itself. I'll take this bipolar output of it and send it into the texture. Oh my god. Let's try reverb amount. Whoa. Yep. Oh my god, this case is so fun. I mean, that's kind of the gist of it. A lot of modulation, one really insane voice, a little bit of reverb, and just crazy step sequencers. These two combos, like, I didn't even really go into it, really. But having the trigger move the step sequencer, but then have the step sequencer reset on another time, gives you the weirdest combination of things. Another one is to maybe just send it a really fast clock and reset it with the steps. That way the pitch is moving around all crazy. I mean, there's a million different ways to kind of use this setup, if you will. But yeah, I mean, that's really it. I'm going to jam on this thing a little bit more. Feel free to hang around. If you want to support the channel, check out this website. I got some synth nerd merch up on there, some hats and t-shirts and whatnot. You know, but you just hanging around and watching and whatnot is more than I can ask for to begin with. But yeah, this stuff, I got links to it all down below. Shop small, buy direct if you can. It really helps support them. Noise engineering, clearly I've been bitten by the bug. I love this thing. This IntelliGel case is exactly the answer I've needed for a while now. So I'm so glad it exists. I got it as quick as I could. Thank you again, IntelliGel, for sending this to me. I absolutely love this thing. But yeah, until next week, share the love, share the knowledge. Knowledge is power. Peace.